Welcome to AM. My name's Richard Conway, and this is the platform for age group multisport athletes to showcase their journey. Welcome along to episode 17. You might be working in the gym or on your turbo trainer or on the treadmill. You might be running outside, but just a big thank you for listening to this podcast. It means a lot, and thank you for all the nice comments and the messages. And if you've got any questions, just drop us an email or find us on Instagram, and just get in touch. Always nice to hear from everybody. While we're editing this, we're just about to come out of lockdown, and I've seen quite a few people got back into the pool, so that's a nice bonus. It would be nice to be able to catch up with some friends, to be able to go running again at the weekend, socially distancing of course. Been doing a bit of training and also been doing a bit of planning now for next year. Got my diary out and got my yearly planning sheet. Started to put a few races on there. Nice to be able to have something to aim for over the winter while we're training. Getting some base miles in. And anyone else started planning yet? Anybody else use a diary? It's a vital piece of equipment in my armoury, that's for sure. British Tri just put out some new kit, so ordered a few bits and bobs off them as a bit of a treat, keeping the juices flowing. The World Triathlon Championships have just been announced for 2022, and they've been split again. And it was the Instagram age group news guys made us aware that the standard's going to be in Abu Dhabi and the sprint's going to be in Montreal. So if you're interested in qualifying for those races, you know the process by now. Just get on the British Tri website and look up the qualifying races and put your tenner down and have a go. See how you get on. You've got nothing to lose. This weekend we've got, well, it'll be last weekend by the time this goes out, 6th of December. The race of the year, I guess. It's the Daytona Tri, where I think the first time ever that we have triathletes from all types of disciplines, from long distance to sprint distance, and they're all going to be racing together. And it's going to be a great race, and you've got big names from all distances having a go, and I'm looking forward to watching that one. Not sure who's gonna win it, either in the female or the male categories. Lots of fantastic athletes in that race, and it's such a class field. So hopefully we can get to watch that, and good luck to everybody in that. So on to our guest. She is the other half of Instagram's age group news, Karina Kaufmann. Karina's a mum of 4. She's got 4 girls, a set of twins in that 4, so she's got her hands full. And she tells us her story of growing up in London and what sporting activities that she did as a kid, and also how she got into triathlon. And then she tells us how she became involved in the age group news on Instagram. She tells us of her goals for the future, short-term and long goals. And yeah, it's a great conversation, so I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you on the other side. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, how are you?
I'm good, yes. It's the end of another long day.
You've got a nice backdrop there.
Oh, yes, it's there's bicycles all over my house.
Yeah.
One there, another one there.
Yeah, know that
More
feeling.
in the kitchen. It's a little habit of mine.
Yeah, I think that's once you get the urge, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So welcome to AMP.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you here,
Lovely.
and thank you for agreeing to tell us your story.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in the world are you based?
I'm in North London.
Right. Whereabouts?
I suppose quite close to quite a famous spot called Hampstead Heath.
All right.
Which I think everyone. That's where I tell everyone I live near because kind of everyone knows that bit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And have you always?
It's a lovely place to train.
I can imagine. Yeah. Have you always lived down there?
Yes, I actually live in the next road to my parents.
All right. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you want to begin by telling us a little bit about you growing up and what sporting activities you did as a child and how you got into multisport from there.
Okay. Well, I suppose I was really sporty as a kid, although I don't think I ever thought of myself as sporty. I just thought that was normal. I used to just have a go at everything, really. But I never did sport to like a high level. I was never a member of a running club or anything like that. I just used to run around. I was the only girl to cycle to school. And I took some flack for that, actually. But then I was also the only girl that could get home in about 1 minute flat from the top of the hill to the bottom. So it had its advantages. And I just basically tried to do every single sport I could at school. I just really, really enjoyed it. Fencing, netball, athletics, although, I did prefer the sports where I did them on my own rather than the team games. But my passion as a child was my parents took me skiing, and I got hooked on ski racing. And I did that to quite a high standard as a child. I got invited to join the junior British ski team, but that was the time when in the late 80s, early 90s, obsession hit, and there's not a lot of snow around here in North London, so it made life a bit difficult. Never really pursued that.
Yeah, I was going to say it must be quite difficult to try and be consistent and train. Is there any snow zones down there now?
Nowadays there's Hemel Hempstead, but
right.
It's tricky. And in those days, in the late 80s, early 90s, I remember begging my parents to send me to boarding school in France, like the other English kids often did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to be. But it definitely gave me a taste and a hunger for competition.
Yeah.
But other than school stuff, I never really did anything competitive or sporty other than those things when I was younger. So I suppose I just enjoyed, running like on Hampstead Heath, like I said.
Yeah.
I grew up. I went to school and university, and just stayed active during all of those times. Mm-hmm. I remember getting back into running after my first 2 children were born. I've got 4 girls, and it's a busy house.
Yes.
And I remember getting back into it. I remember the sense of guilt almost leaving them for half an hour or an hour with someone to go out for a run, and it was this like delightful mixture of guilt on the one hand, but like exhilaration of being out in the fresh air and being able to run again and a bit of time for myself. And I suppose, it was a positive reinforcement. I ran and I felt better and I had the endorphins from running and I wanted to do it more and more. And then I suppose I started getting into running and sport more in those days when I was a young mum. Although I still think I'm quite a young mum now, but
I was going to say
when the kids were young, when they were when Aurora was 2 and Isla was 4, and then sadly we were trying to have our 3rd child, and I lost 2 babies, and I was absolutely devastated. I know this is a strange thing to talk about on a sports podcast, but that it's almost a taboo subject for women to talk about miscarriage, and there was very little help or support out there.
Yeah.
And I found that actually sport was a real tonic for that. And eventually, in my despair, I needed a distraction.
Sure.
And sport made me feel good. And my friend Rob had been doing some triathlons. And he said, every year I do the Blenheim triathlon. Come on, why don't you have a go? And at that point in time, I thought, oh my gosh, a triathlon. That's like, epic, like a sprint triathlon. How could anyone do that? It's like you have to be superhuman or something. But it was what I needed. It was the distraction I needed. So I entered that in November. And by June, I was just totally, focused on it and fixed on it. Not to win, but just I enjoyed every bit of it. Like you say, enjoy the process.
Yeah. Nice one. Oh, you listened then?
Yeah. Oh gosh, every episode, I love it.
Yeah. That's great.
And I did enjoy the process, and I just totally got hooked. I think everyone that gets hooked on triathlon says the same thing. I did one and I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
So I did 5 that year, and turned out I had 2 little identical people on board for the last couple of races.
So just backtracking before we get ahead of ourselves, you've just gone right into like your triathlon. So I take it that you didn't, other than biking up the hill to school, you didn't do anything competitively biking.
No.
You didn't do anything competitively running.
No.
And I take it you learnt to swim at school, but you didn't do anything competitively swimming.
We actually didn't learn to swim at school.
Oh, you didn't?
No. We had, I remember having a couple of lessons at primary school kind of as a token thing, but we didn't have a swimming pool at secondary school. They didn't take us. I actually taught myself, badly as it turns out, front crawl, when I started doing triathlon.
Right.
I remember not being able to swim. I couldn't even swim 8 lengths.
Yeah.
Actually swim breaststroke as fast as my front crawl. So often you'll see someone going, who's that numpty racing breaststroke? And they'll be like, that will be me, but I can keep up with you.
But that isn't uncommon, is it? One is...
No, I don't think it is.
It's not uncommon, one, that people who start up triathlon can't swim. They can swim, but just to mess about. And 2, a lot of people do start with breaststroke and are faster than they actually, like you've just said, than them doing front crawl until they actually get into doing front crawl properly. So going back to your story, so you hadn't done anything other than a bit of running. You hadn't done anything at all, and then you decided, let's go and do a triathlon then.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, I bought myself. I mean, I didn't even have a bike.
Yeah.
So I bought myself a road bike, which I've never ridden a road bike, a drop-handled bike before, and obviously I had some quite good bike handling skills from being a kid, but like kids do, on a mountain bike and messing around a bit, and my parents always bought me kind of, like the Halfords mountain bikes, like you do. I remember telling my dad I'm going to buy a race bike, and he was like, "Oh, how much do they cost? Like £100?" I was like, "Oh God, better not tell you what I'm about to spend on this." And it felt really weird to ride. I remember thinking, "Oh, maybe I'm not sure about this. This doesn't feel like my childhood." But once I started riding it, I realised it was like speed and the wind in your hair on the helmet. But that like descending and taking corners, and I just loved it. It was almost like skiing for me. I suppose.
Yeah. I
suppose that's why I'm happiest on the bike.
So is that your favourite out of the 3? Would you say at the moment?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I kind of pride myself on being a super strong biker. And I think quite rightly so. I think I am a super strong biker.
Good.
And
that's good.
I wish I could get my running and swimming up to similar levels. That would be really good.
Yeah, and that just takes time, doesn't it?
I think it does, and I think that's one of the major things I've learnt, and probably a really good message for people that are starting out, is that, you know, you don't get good, you know, just in a season or two. I think it takes years and years to build this endurance, and to build this base. And you know, it's why I'm eternally jealous of people that have this background in running, that were sent to like running clubs as a kid, you know, and they you know, started at the age of 8 or 10, and you know, went through all that, you know, cross country seasons and all of this, because they built that huge base engine. But it doesn't mean it's impossible, but you need to give yourself time to develop that.
Seeing these people that can swim, and they've been swimming since they were like 4, 5 and 6, and they've just got the technique, I'm just in awe, and that's what I wish that I'd have done when I was, you know, now looking back as a nearly 53-year-old man, I wish that I'd been thrown in the pool at that age and being able to get the technique nailed. But you know, we all have parts, don't we? Because there's 3 sports, and we all have parts that.
Yeah, there's, you know, very few people are amazing at everything, and you know, I think we were all, like you said, splashing around for fun, and we've got water confidence. But my kids still say I swim like a dying frog, and and it's despite hours and hours of trying to hone that technique.
Thanks, kids.
Yeah, that's kids.
Thanks, kids.
Come on, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got no real background,
which is even the more awesome, really, that you've got to, you know. And I know it hasn't been overnight, but still, it's to get to the level that you're at is, and having no background whatsoever. I think maybe you and Christina are probably the only ones that haven't had any like background whatsoever as children. So yeah, that's really impressive. So moving on to you did your first year of triathlons, and you didn't do it by halves. You did 5 in the first year, you know, and then realised that you were pregnant, like you said, with twins. Brilliant.
Yes.
So what happened after that then? Obviously that put a stop to that.
Yeah, it really did. It wasn't. It wasn't for lack of wanting to go back, but I had my hands full. I had 4 kids. You know, the twins were born, you know, days after Isla had turned 5, so I had 4 kids under 5, and I quite literally had my arms full. I remember sitting on the sofa watching the Brownies race at the Olympics. You know, trying to look after 2 little babies, and you know, the first year just wipes me out. And then the second year, I'm kind of slowly getting back to, you know, exercising and trying to carve out some time for myself. And I think this is where sport is so great for young mums, because it's so good for you in so many ways. And I think Sarah, in one of your earlier episodes, also talked about that. You know, how important it is. So not just for your body, but your mind, and for your sanity, and outdoor space, and time away from the kids. And I don't think any young mum should feel guilty about taking that time for themselves. I think it's really, really important. I
was going to say, so do you think you learn, obviously you had your 2 older children, and then you got to that where you didn't feel guilty going out and doing a bit of running? Do you think that helped then to do that a second time when you had your twins?
Yeah, I think it really did. You know, I think twins are tricky. It's more than double the work. I felt quite privileged that I'd already had 2 kids, so you know, I wasn't that new mum that was worrying about everything. I was quite laid back. I was as laid back as you can be when you're running around after 4 of them. I think the sport gave me energy, which was good, because I needed that energy to look after the girls, and I had that confidence. You know, like we all do, when we come back, you know, after a break, whether it's a couple of weeks because you've been under the weather, or you've injured yourself, you know, you do doubt yourself, like, will I be able to get back to it? Will I be able to run again? Will I be fast again? But you know, knowing that you've done it once helps. It gives you that confidence. Well, if I did it then, I should. There's no reason why I shouldn't go back to it. You know, sometimes you have to put a bit of, you know, elbow grease into it and a bit of effort. But you know, if it's worth doing properly.
Yeah, quite right. So you got back training, and you said that your training partner had been doing some triathlons, and that's how you got into the first place. So how did you come to learn about GB and age group racing?
Yeah, it was really through my training partner and friend Simon. We had both decided to try and become personal trainers, and so we went on a training course together, and we were training partners, and we thought we'd give that a go. And he said, you really are quite good at triathlon. And I was like, no, not really. You know, I wasn't speedy then. I just really enjoyed it. I wasn't placing in races. I was just enjoying, knocking minutes off my 5K time, or, being a little bit faster or slicker in transition or something like that. So I didn't view myself as speedy, but he really encouraged me. He said, no, you're actually quite good. Why don't you try, the British team? And he looked it all up, and it just seemed like a completely impossible task. I was thinking, like, why are you trying to make me do something where I'm going to fail? It's like, it seemed crazy. But
some friend you are.
Yeah, exactly. What are you setting me up for? But at the same time, I was like, wow, someone believes in you and encourages you, and he always said that watching me race or racing with me, we'd often go to races together and stuff. Was encouraging for him. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. What's to lose? There's nothing to lose. I'm doing these races anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, albeit the races that I was doing before them weren't kind of what I'd call, national level, which is, I suppose, what we think of the qualifiers as.
Yeah.
Where the best in the country turn up. But I thought I'd try. So, I was getting more and more into it, and yeah, so 2017, I kind of thought, well, the Worlds are in Rotterdam. That's nearby. I can probably get there. It's not like I have to traipse across to Australia or anything. I'll give it a go.
So that was the first. So how did you go about working out which race you were going to go for? Obviously, you just said Rotterdam because that was closest. Was that the reason? Was it the closest one, or was it the race that you? Was it the distance, or what was the reason that you chose that race?
I don't know. I just think it was the World Triathlon Championships, and it was in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
I can't even, now thinking about it, remember where the European Championships were even being held. I just think it was a race that I could get to when I had very young children at home, and it seemed like I'll give it a go. And the qualifier was at Eton Dorney. I mean, I realised there was 3 qualifiers, but I didn't think to go to all 3. I just thought I'll go to one and see how I do.
Yeah.
So Eton Dorney isn't so far away in Windsor from where I live in North London. So it wasn't very well thought through, really.
I was going to say, did you do any research of sort of like people's times before you actually registered for it?
No, I don't think I was that savvy in those days.
Right.
What I did do was I went and did a couple of duathlons there in the winter because I wanted to suss out the racetrack because I really got into my cycling. So I just thought, I'll suss out what the running surface is like, what the cycling surface is like, and they used to run winter duathlon series there. So I thought I'll go and do that. And I actually remember lining up because the duathlon's the mass start and a run. It has a different kind of starting feel to a triathlon, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You look a bit more normal when you're not wrapped up in black neoprene. I remember seeing people in their GB tri-suits and just being totally like a rabbit in headlights and awestruck. And it wasn't just young, what I consider to be young, fit people. It was older people,
me.
like you and me, but even people even older, approaching my mother's age, and I was just like, wow, I was just I remember kind of nervously chatting on the start line. You're so cool. I want to be like you.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so that's. I
I sussed that out.
Yeah.
But other than that, I didn't do any other.
Yeah, but that in itself's pretty pretty pro, really, recceing the course, and you know what I mean. You had a bit of thought went into it.
Well, I think that's from my ski racing background. So there's a lot of sports psychology in ski racing, and mental preparation before you race down a ski race.
Yeah.
Memorizing the course and where the turns are and whether you have to be high and low and those types of things. Right. So yeah. So that's what I brought to it.
Yeah, so that stuck in from your childhood then. Yeah. It's amazing what comes back, isn't it, into different parts of your life. You know, it's psychologically, it's quite impressive. So you raced there and you were successful.
No, well, yes and no. I mean, I did the Eton Dorney race, and it really shook me up. I mean, I've never been in that washing machine environment. You know, at the beginning of a sprint triathlon, I actually couldn't get into the water for months afterwards. Right. It really freaked me out. Yeah. But I loved the bike course, and I managed to catch up with some women and draft with them, and that was great. Yeah. And then the run was pretty nice, and I thought I'd done quite well. And then obviously when I got the results through, I was nowhere near getting a qualification place, and obviously just had to settle for a roll down place. And then I started getting a bit more savvy, looking at people's times, and kind of by June, July, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got the 115%, but there's so many people ahead of me, and I knew they'd only take 20 on the team. That I was I think placed 22 or something. I was like, I'm not going to get it, and I kind of just put it to the back of my mind. It was fun. I tried my best. I'd done a course PB for the Eton Dorney race, and I was happy with it, but still really disappointed that I wasn't going to get the chance. And I thought, I'll just think about something for next season after that.
Yeah.
But then I went on summer holidays, and I got an email from British Triathlon going, roll down places come through. And I was like, but there's 4 weeks to the race, and I'm in Spain, and I haven't got any kit or anything. But of course I said yes straight away. I was like, yes, I made it. I'll do all of that. And the rest, as we say, is history, really.
Cool.
Double smitten.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to your open water swim then, did you do much open water training before you actually did the race?
I did, actually. Yeah. I actually really enjoy open water swimming. I don't have a fear of open water. I think it was like being swum over and basically dunked in the water. It was quite violent. And actually, I'm not a very gentle person, so I don't know why it freaked me out a bit. But I mean, I'm up in Hampstead Heath. We've got the ponds, so it's a little bit contentious at the moment. They're restricting access to people. I mean, obviously, it's completely closed during lockdown too, but over the summer I've not actually been in there this year because of it. But I'm quite lucky to have some open water near me. I know others don't have any at all.
I think going back to it's all right swimming and practicing open water, but actually until you've actually raced with a group of people that wanna rip your limbs off, then you haven't experienced anything like it. And it's not surprising.
Nice. Really. I mean, nowadays I wouldn't think twice of just going, well, it's my race and I'm going to swim. And if you're in the way, you're in the way, and I'm going to go for it. Yeah. And everyone's in the same boat.
Absolutely.
Same pond.
Yeah, same pond or sea or river. Yeah. That's interesting though. So you've done quite a few races since.
Oh yes.
You're absolutely hooked now and enjoy it. So are you coached? Are you part of a club, or what's the process? Well, there's three questions. Are you coached? Are you part of a club? And what training plan, program do you have?
So at the moment I'm self-coached.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of years ago my club boss at my cycle club. He's a coach. He's a cycling coach, and he took me on for a year and was doing some cycle coaching, and that was the first experience I've ever had of any kind of structured planning. Up until then, I was just kind of poodling along, up until, the end of 2018, I was just poodling along on my own. And he said, come on, you need a bit of structure. But he was only a cycling coach, an amazing cycling coach. He's a brilliant advocate for women's bike racing, Ian Watson, and he's great. So he coached me for a year, but he is a cycling coach, and so after a year, I decided for 2019 and 2020 to kind of do the rest myself. I kind of got the gist then of what structured training was and what I needed and what worked well with me. And sadly, funds are limited, aren't they? Bikes, Angly bikes cost money, and going to the pool every week costs money, and poor kids are not cheap. And the races themselves aren't cheap. I think it's a really expensive sport we've got ourselves addicted to. And yeah, so I just need to kind of spend my pennies wisely. So what I got really into was Trainer Road. So basically, I'm self-coached now, but I take a lot of structured sessions, especially for the bike, from Trainer Road. And that kind of helps keep me on the straight and narrow, so to speak. I'm not a member of a triathlon club. I'm a member of Cycle Club London, which is where I met Ian and amazing cycling friends. And I am also a member of London Heathside Running Club, which kind of gives me access to the track and a wealth of knowledge, a kind of running brain hive to go and ask questions to. But I just do the swimming myself. But I can see the benefits to a triathlon club, and triathlon is different from racing each of those things individually. But I think, I definitely have seen with cycling that if you want to be a better cyclist, you ride with cyclists rather than riding with triathletes. Like, I think especially for draft legal races, if you want to sit on someone's wheel nicely and take the right line and really, boss it, then you go race some crit races and some cyclocross bike handling skills, and then come back to us, and you'll be a much better person. So that works for me, and it fits in with my life as well.
I think that's the big thing, isn't it? You've got to find what actually, especially with the household that you've got, four children, you've got to find what works, and being part of a club wouldn't work, I guess, for you, because it's too tiring, too time consuming. You've got to be able to go off and train on your own pretty much and have your own plan. So yeah, I can totally appreciate that. And like I say, it's whatever works for everybody. We're all individuals, aren't we? So that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the guys that have been on the podcast, well, I would say the majority have had coaches. I think there's probably 3 of us that are not coached, and everybody else has had coaches, and they have said that they weren't coached and they got coaches and they've improved, and I guess it's down to circumstances. So yeah, it's just interesting to hear everybody's point of view, really.
I mean, I think, one of the great things about this sport is everyone's really friendly, so they're very happy to chat to you about things and share information and stuff. I can, if money was endless, and I'm sure you could get the best coach in the world, someone that was really in tune with you and gave you something that was very specific for you. But, with a bit of reading and careful research, I think you can come up with these things for yourself. And, with time and experience, if you learn to listen to your own body as well, I think that's really important. Then, you can get it right. I think I'm getting it right at the moment, which is good. We'll see.
The thing is, we're not doing too bad. I was going to say, the thing is, we're not doing too bad so far, are we?
Exactly.
So, with that being said, what resources do you look at and use? For your triathlon.
So, like I said, Trainer Road is great. I had a go at the beginning of lockdown with Zwift, subject, and I just didn't get on with it. I suppose it's just a bit too computer gamey for me.
Right.
I know loads of people love it.
I do.
But, yeah, you do. I mean, I have a really old, completely not smart, not connected to anything, turbo.
Yeah.
And up until I got coached by Ian, I literally just had, post-it notes in front of me, and just look at a kind of blank wall and listen to some music in turbo away. So I don't need anything fancy like that. Trainer Road is great for cycling and structured training and intervals. I definitely learned from them, and also from reading a couple of books like the Macatone method, and some of those kind of triathlon textbooks, so to speak, about periodization and training and stuff. Like you said, because I don't have a sports background, you would have learnt about this as a kid in a running club, for example, like the winter season and the summer season and the different things like that. So because I'm a kind of Duracell bunny, I was just like all go all the time. And of course, after a while, you kind of start to plateau out like that, don't you? So I've learned that. But I think people are the biggest resource that people that you can use. People, and for that, Instagram for me is just perfect because I'm very, I'm a very visual person. So looking at pictures is great and enables me to connect with people, send people messages, ask them questions. Listen to what other people are doing for training. There's some amazing athletes out on Instagram. Age groupers, elite Team G athletes that you can follow. Some of them are really friendly. They'll answer your questions. So that's a great resource.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, I mean, people. I've not had that response before. It's usually like internet and Instagram, like you said. But yeah, just people in general. Other age groupers, it's priceless, isn't it? And this is why we're doing this. It's to give people knowledge and help and, hopefully entertain a little bit. So what's your favourite piece of kit?
It's got to be my bike, because I just love cycling.
Yeah, which bike?
Well, I've got 4.
Yeah.
But they're all, I've got a road bike, I've got a TT bike. I love my cyclocross bike because I love off-road stuff, and I've got a mountain bike as well. Don't make me choose one of them.
They're like your children.
Yeah, well, my kids were very excited when I finally got the 4th one, because they were like, "There's one for each of us, Mum." Like, touch my bikes and you're in trouble.
You can have anything, just don't touch my bikes. Okay, we'll leave it at that then. I'm not going to make you choose. I'm not going to make you choose.
But I think what's really handy that I got a year ago for my bikes is power.
Right.
So I bought power pedals because I can switch them between my road bike and my time trial bike. And because I don't have a smart trainer or anything like that, I now have power for when I'm on turbo as well. And unlike people that train on a watt bike or have smart trainers, because the power I'm using are power pedals, it's the same power that I can use in training indoors. I can replicate the training indoors outside and for racing as well. So that's quite a nice metric for me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, power is obviously I've not got pedals, but I use the power on Zwift, and it's doing the FTP testing and stuff. It just gives you, it draws I've just done one last month, and I'll do one each month just to see the progression or not sometimes. And it's a brilliant tool to be able to use. What pedals did you go for? Interesting.
I've got the Garmin Vector ones.
Right. Yeah.
I've just got one side.
Yeah.
I just didn't fancy paying double the price for 2 of them.
No.
And I think for what we use them for, it does the job.
Yeah. It is something I'm looking to invest in. Probably get the winter out of the way, because we won't be doing much riding outside. But in the spring, I'm gonna get some. And I like you pedals, because then you can interchange them off the bikes, and I think that's invaluable.
I know some people have had trouble with them, but mine, as long as you change the battery every once in a while, have actually been great for me. I mean, great piece of kit.
Good, yeah, nice one. So what are your plans in the short term, and for longer term, what are your goals going to be?
Well, this was 2020 was meant to be my year. Well, that's what I'd.
What did you have planned?
To go over the world. No. I really wanted podiums at the Europeans and at the World Duathlon Championships in 2020.
Yeah.
And I was also due to go to Edmonton to race triathlon and also and the European Championships in Tartu. I had a really busy calendar. Yeah. It's my 40th birthday at the end of December. I've got like the best triathlon birthday.
Happy birthday!
It's the 31st of December.
The big 4-0.
So I've been in the age 40 category all year, knowing that I was in prime position. So this was why it was meant to be my year. It was like my 40th birthday present to myself, and I was going to pick up some nice shiny medals in duathlon and triathlon. I think I wanted to a top 20 place. Yeah. Would have been nice, and you know how much work goes into this. The year before, qualifying for everything, and I did qualify for everything, sprint and standard distance, European Championships and World Championships, in triathlon and duathlon. So I had the choice, and I was going to do everything, or as much as I could. And then COVID came along, and I think, well, it didn't come along just for me; it came along for everyone, and it's wrecked things a little bit, but. All things hopeful, we'll have a race season next year, and all of those races hopefully have been moved across. Whether I can get to Edmonton and Bermuda and Almere and wherever the Europeans are going to be, I don't know. I'll try to go to as many of them as I can, and see what I can pick up. I to be honest, I don't take anything as written or given or anything. I think each one is hard earned, and I think people think, oh well, you've got 2 European medals now already. You'll definitely get one, won't you? And I'm thinking, will I? I'm not sure. There's part of you has to believe and visualize yourself. That's like going back to memorizing those race courses. Like one of the things I did before Winter Over was quite literally visualise myself stepping up onto that podium. I needed to be able to see it, and it really needed it in the race. I tell you, there was a point where I was like, "Oh, remember that step up to get onto that podium." But yeah, I don't assume I'm going to win anything. I know I've got to put the work in.
Yeah,
but hopefully that's 2021.
Yeah,
fingers crossed for that.
Yeah. And good luck with that, because it is, you're not just doing triathlon, which in itself's a feat, you're doing duathlon, which makes it a hell of a long season, doesn't it?
It really is.
If you think about...
I'm better at duathlon than triathlon, because my swimming just really lets me down. It's such a weakness. Yeah,
and I think we've said, and I say it quite a lot, because I'm exactly like you, my swimming's not the best, but you've got to race to your strengths, haven't you? And if that's duathlon, then I always say it's harder, anyway.
Oh, it's definitely a harder race, without a doubt. Yeah. It really is.
So they're your short-term goals, and good luck with them. And I wish you all the best. And so, what are your longer-term goals?
Well, actually, I'm not 100% sure. I know I'll stay in age group racing. I suppose one day, I want to tick the kind of Ironman thing off the list. Yeah. I think I would be actually really good at 70.3, she says, very big-headedly. So I definitely want to give that a go. Yeah. I don't know when, though. One thing that's, that I've been thinking about during lockdown is that really we've had our racing taken away from us. And it really made me miserable for a large chunk of that first lockdown. And I realised how almost dependent I was on sport. And if for any reason I wouldn't be able to do this anymore, whether it's lockdown, something out of my control, or an injury or something like that, I think I I really need to look to having something else as well, other options available.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about going back to university.
All right.
So maybe I might have to put some of my racing on the back burner, or specialise a little bit more carefully. Maybe pick out just duathlon, like you said, because it's such a long season, the triathlon and the duathlon. Yeah. So that's kind of mid to longer term. But we'll see. It's a big decision, and the girls are growing up now, and there's lots of sides to me, and it's about keeping a balance, really, isn't it, in life? That's really important.
Yeah, it is. And I think you've got your hands full with your kids, but that's such a precious time, because believe you me, it goes so quickly, and they've gone before you know it, and you turn around and you think, what happened? Where have they gone? And then you're left. And then actually, it's not so bad, because you get your life back and you can do what you want. So, but yeah, it's good to have something to aim for, other than, this is great, this sport, and it's, it takes a lot of time. But it is good to have something else to take yourself away from that, because it can become all encompassing, can't it? And just, so yeah.
I think it can, but I mean, the best thing, other than the racing, of course, and the endorphins and just the love of the sport, is our amazing triathlon and duathlon family. And I think that's what people are missing so much in lockdown, because you can do virtual racing, you can go out training. It doesn't have the same feeling, we all admit that. But not being able to meet up with your mates or see people at races, I think that's really, people are really feeling it now. I mean, I'm really feeling it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that is magical about age group sports. Even if you don't dream of hitting European or world podiums, even if you just dream about go and enjoy being part of the British age group team is just amazing.
Yeah, putting that GB tri-suit on is just, that's it, done, job done. Anything else is a bonus, isn't it, really?
I know. If only we could get that feeling just walking around the house with it on.
I've not tried that. I'll give it a go.
I have. I've even been to school in it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So that's your triathlon, duathlon, multisport history and background and future.
Yeah.
Moving on now to, obviously, you're part of the age group news.
Yes.
With David, which David was on previously. I had a nice chat to David, and he was telling us quite a lot about the age group news. And so, how did you come about to be involved in that? And
so David and I kind of started collaborating together when I was on an aeroplane with him to Romania in 2019 for the European Duathlon Championships. And we just hit it off, and we started talking more and more about age group news. And it was only halfway through the conversation where I said, I think we can really build our followers and kind of set ourselves a little challenge. Can we engage with more people? X number more people by the time the championships were over. And I gave him some ideas, and he went away with that and did the things that David did, and it was great fun, and it was about being part of the age group family and scene, and I loved it so much. And I think working with David means that age group news is a little bit more rounded, because I'm a little bit older than David, and it's nice to have a woman on board as well. And we can bounce ideas off each other, and also cover more races. I was obviously going to a lot more races than he was able to go to internationally. I mean, David is a phenomenal athlete, just an inspiration. Even though he's younger than me, I just totally look up to him, his sporting abilities, and the knowledge that he has, because he is a lifelong athlete. And I love people, and I just wanted to get involved with that, and to be able to help other people. in the age group team. So it kind of was perfect for me. I'm bubbly and friendly and chat to everyone. And David says, "Is there anyone on the age group team that you don't know?" And I think, you know, that's what age group news is there for. It's there to keep people informed and to listen to people to what people want, and help spread that news, just like you are doing with the podcast. You know, but obviously on that great Instagram platform that I was talking about before.
For me, it's about giving back to the community and giving people like you and David a voice. You know what I mean? To tell the stories and inspire. And that was it. Just came to me in lockdown that, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I've said this before on the podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I just got to thinking that they're all great, but I can't relate really to the Brownlees, and you know what I mean, because they're on a different pedestal, and how can anybody coming into it really relate to the cream of the crop? Why don't we get somebody or be able to listen to people that have actually started from nothing and they've got to where they've got really, and that's it.
You're exactly right. You know, that's exactly the reason we want to help people. And there was nothing for us for the age group. It was always the elite. And you know, it struck me, there's just so many of us. I mean, you go to World Championships or European Championships, and Team GB is like the biggest team, or at a World's, you know, maybe America's big. There's like 750 of us there. We're huge, and you know, we deserve to have something for ourselves. You know, to showcase people, to help people, and you know, as a hub for our community. And you do it in words, and it's great. We can listen to it whilst we're running or on turbo. I love it. And we do it in pictures. And if people want to send us stuff, suggestions that they want to see featured, that's great. So drop us a line on Instagram, send us a direct message, and we're happy to feature people or look at what ideas they want covered, or information that they want access to.
Good. So you're going to take it forward and, you know, hopefully grow it, and but like
that's
you say,
the idea. I mean, it's already grown massively, and I think we're just looking, you know, year on year it's going to get bigger and better. Last year we got a few little prizes to give away. That a special Team GB helmet that went to Claire. She won that, and fun little things. It's, you know, makes our community even more interesting than it already is.
Cool, brilliant. That's great news. Well, thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure to chat to you and listen to your story. And like I said before, just good luck with everything next year, and I hope that we do get the opportunity to race. I'm qualified for the duathlon in the World Championships in Almere, so I'll see you there definitely.
Hooray! I'll see you there.
And I've also qualified for the European Triathlon, but I don't know where that's going to be. So
no, we don't know where it's going to be, but fingers crossed we can get to it all, and I'll definitely see you out there.
So on that note, we'll leave it there, and that's great. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you. It's been lovely to chat.
So thanks again, Karina, for that. Really enjoyed that chat. Insightful and amazing the amount of passion that you've got for our multisport. And like I just said, thank you ever so much for coming on, and good luck with everything in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. It's great to hear somebody with so much passion for the sport that we all love. So that's it for another episode. Thank you for listening, and if you'd like to leave any comments, you can get in touch with us at Agegroup Multisport Podcast at gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram at amp_1967. We're on Facebook at AmpGB, and we are on Twitter at Agegroup Multisport Podcast. And you can find us now on YouTube at AmpGB. We've got our own channel over there, and I'm converting the audio MP4s and putting them on there For people who don't really do podcasts but do YouTube, you can get over there now and have a listen. And if you'd like to subscribe to our channel and leave us a message, much appreciated. And that's it for another episode. So thank you very much, and just remember, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.